The Galactic Concord had fallen. Lieutenant James Walker knew this as he watched the enemy warships descend upon the peaceful colony world of Elysium. The massive vessels of the Vex Dominion blotted out the twin suns as they positioned themselves over major population centers. Evacuation alarms blared across the settlement. The colony's defensive systems had already been neutralized by sabotage. Walker's unit had been stationed here as a peacekeeping force, a token human military presence among the 17 alien species that had settled this world. Now they were all that stood between the colonists and annihilation. "Sir, civilian transports are launching," reported Private Miller, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around them. "But the Vex are sending interceptors." Walker watched the tactical display with growing dread. The civilian ships wouldn't make it past the blockade without support, but his company numbered only 30 soldiers. They had a single combat shuttle, woefully inadequate against the Vex fleet. "What about the Ilarian embassy?" Walker asked. Miller shook her head. They'd already evacuated their own personnel, left everyone else behind. Typical. The Ilarians had been the first to sign peace treaties with the Vex, securing their own safety while abandoning their allies. The other major powers of the Concord had followed suit. Only Earth had refused to surrender. A new alert pinged on his tactical display. "Sir," said Miller, "I'm picking up a distress signal from the Southern District. It's a Lumari life pod." Walker's breath caught. The Lumari were a peaceful bioluminescent species known for their advanced medical knowledge. They had been among the first targeted by the Vex. "How many survivors?" he asked. "Just one, sir. Juvenile female." Walker made his decision instantly. "Prep the shuttle. We're going to get her." Miller stared at him in disbelief. "Sir, with respect, that's suicide. The Southern District is already crawling with Vex ground forces. The evacuation fleet needs 20 more minutes to get all civilians aboard. We can buy them that time while rescuing the Lumari child." Walker checked his rifle. "I won't leave a child behind, human or alien." The combat shuttle skimmed low over the burning cityscape. Walker piloted manually, weaving between buildings to avoid Vex sensors. In the rear compartment, Miller and 4 other soldiers prepared their gear. Walker had set the rest of his company to assist with the main evacuation. This mission was volunteer only, and he'd been surprised when 5 others had immediately stepped forward. 2 minutes to target," Walker announced. "Remember, we get in, secure the package, and get out. The Vex don't take prisoners." The shuttle touched down in a small plaza 100 meters from the Lumari life pod signal. Smoke billowed across the area, and distant explosions punctuated the eerie silence. "Miller, Torres with me. The rest of you, secure our exit." The trio moved swiftly through the ruined streets. The Vex had been thorough in their destruction, leaving nothing but rubble and ash in their wake. The Lumari neighborhood had been particularly targeted. The Vex considered healers to be especially dangerous. The life pod signal led them to a collapsed building. The small, egg-shaped capsule had been designed to protect its occupant during disasters, but was never meant to withstand orbital bombardment. Its outer shell was cracked, and the soft blue glow that typically indicated Lumari life signs was flickering weakly. Walker approached cautiously and peered through the transparent section. Inside lay a small Lumari child, her skin glowing faintly with pale blue bioluminescence. Her 4 delicate arms were curled protectively around herself, and her large, multifaceted eyes were closed. "Is she alive?" Torres whispered. Walker activated the emergency release and carefully opened the pod. The Lumari child's eyes fluttered open, 6 iridescent orbs that reflected Walker's own image back at him. "It's okay," he said softly. "We're here to help you." The universal translator in his helmet converted his words to the musical tones of Lumari's speech. The child uncurled slightly, her glow brightening. "Where is my family?" she asked in the translated voice of a young girl. Walker exchanged a glance with Miller. The Lumari neighborhood had been utterly destroyed. "We're going to get you somewhere safe," he said instead of answering. "What's your name?" "Lyra," she replied. "All right, Lyra, I'm James. We need to move quickly." A sudden explosion nearby sent debris raining down around them. Miller's scanner beeped urgently. "Vex patrol approaching, sir. 30 seconds." Walker scooped the Lumari child into his arms. She was lighter than he expected, her body cool to the touch. "Let's move." They were halfway back to the shuttle when the Vex intercepted them. The alien soldiers emerged from the smoke like nightmares, 3-meter-tall armored figures wielding plasma weapons. Their faceless helmets turned toward the humans and the precious cargo they protected. "Run," Walker shouted, firing his rifle one-handed while cradling Lyra against his chest. Torres went down first, a plasma bolt catching him in the leg. Miller dragged him behind cover while Walker provided suppressing fire. "Get to the shuttle," Walker ordered. "Not without you, sir," Miller shouted back. The Vex were closing in. Walker handed Lyra to Miller. "Take her. That's an order, Private." Miller hesitated only a moment before nodding. She lifted Torres with one arm and held Lyra with the other. "What are you going to do?" Walker pulled a thermal detonator from his belt. "Buy you time." As Miller retreated with Lyra and the wounded Torres, Walker stood his ground. The Vex surrounded him, their weapons trained on his position. Walker activated the detonator. The shuttle broke atmosphere just as the evacuation fleet prepared to jump to light speed. Miller piloted with grim determination. The wounded Torres stabilized in the back along the Lumari child. "This is Private Miller requesting emergency docking. We have a Lumari survivor and wounded aboard." The fleet flagship responded immediately. "Docking Bay 3 is clear. Where is Lieutenant Walker?" Miller glanced back at Lyra, who was staring out the viewport at her burning homeworld. "Lieutenant Walker didn't make it," Miller replied. "He stayed behind to ensure our escape." As the shuttle docked with the flagship, Miller knelt before the Lumari child. "Your people are healers, right? We could use someone like you where we're going." Lyra's glow pulsed brighter. "Where are we going?" "Earth," Miller said. "The last free world. Lieutenant Walker gave his life so you could have a future. We won't let his sacrifice be in vain." The Lumari child placed one of her 4 hands on Miller's cheek. "Then I will learn to heal your people, as one of yours tried to save mine." In the darkness of space, as the fleet jumped away from the fallen colony, a single human sacrifice ensured that hope survived, not just for humanity, but for all who stood against the darkness.